Okay, all right. Well, this is the Wellness Trinity, Dr. Jacqueline, and I have my client on here tonight, April Coop. Thank you so much for joining, April.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So you jumped on board and you were like, I want answers. We'll go into what you were looking for. And then you're like, okay, now I want my daughter to come on and my son to have a consultation. And you just really took a deep dive with your family. Usually it takes time for that to happen. So let's first start with you're a physical therapist. You're a Pilates instructor and then a massage therapist, right? And then is there anything else I'm missing?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else that I'm missing?
No.
No? All right. So you're already in the holistic field. And so this is what we're doing is not completely new to you. For some people that come to me, it's like a foreign language when I start talking about detoxing and parasites, balancing chemistry. So let's start off with what were you dealing with before you came to me in terms of health challenges? Like why were you looking for a holistic health doctor?
Well, I guess I was always having issues kind of in my younger years, just never came to actually have to deal with them until actually I had my second child. And after my daughter, I just was having issues of like fatigue and irregularity, and then just emotions were kind of all over the place. So I started a couple years ago just getting blood work, and then they diagnosed me with thyroiditis. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole of chasing symptoms of like, okay, is it the thyroid? And then I had reoccurring yeast infections that were never going away. And that's kind of ultimately what started the ball rolling, because I was like, okay, I know I didn't want antibiotics. My experience with them was only making it worse. So in that, I started working with a functional therapist, and we just started chasing symptoms. And so it was, let's do the Candida diet. Okay, still having issues. Then found parasites. Okay, now we're chasing parasites. And then I did get a hair test, and I knew that I was exposed to heavy metals. So then I started chasing the heavy metal exposure. Mm-hmm. And then it just became very overwhelming. So I decided to take a break and just start practicing with my own tinctures and herbal stuff. And after 6 to 8 months, it was just, okay, I know I need something. Because I was just starting to just mix stuff together, not really knowing. I knew I needed more help in that direction. And I had already started giving my kids tinctures at the time. My daughter had ear infections, which my son never had, and just started seeing some rashes on them, like cracked lips all the time. And again, so I was chasing deficiency with my kids, and it was, okay, let's change what they're eating. Let's be, I tried it all. Mm-hmm. And that was not working. So I got blood work again, and actually my iron levels were continuing to get out of control, and my antibodies were still elevated after a year of trying to do my own. And that's ultimately what led me to you, because I saw that you approached it with everything. You have a faith-based, I believe in God. We need science in the middle of that, and you need direction. I believe you just need a mentor. You need someone to kind of guide you to see the things that you can't see.
Mm-hmm. That's key. Yeah. No, I agree. It's sometimes hard to see things without someone else pulling them out. And I've gone through my own things, and some of my family members have gone through their own things as well. And there's a time where it's like, okay, we just got to kind of humble ourselves and look outside and ask for help. And it's amazing when we do that. For example, last week I just went to a muscles testing seminar. And here I am doing all this emotion code work on you guys. And there was the owner of CellCore, his brother, he does the emotion code and body code. And he offered to do some work on me. And I was like, sure. I mean, maybe he can find some things that I might not be revealed. I don't know. I know he can take this a whole step further than what I'm doing with that right now too. So I was like, why not? So we found some things and, related to some stuff I wanted to work on. And And it was good. He, you know, and he showed me a different way of the way that he approached it. So it's like I can learn new things too. So, you know, I think the key in this field is definitely, I mean, practitioners have to really be humble and know when we don't know things, and then know when we do know things, and know when we need to research and and look for more answers. And the more that we can look at this from a holistic perspective, like you're saying, you know, because we are a mind, a body, and a spirit. And if we're missing pieces of that, and then there's structure, we have to think about our structure as well, then we're not going to really fully be able to heal. So because for you, you know, I was just so fascinated on how fast you jumped on board, because not all clients are, actually, I do get a lot of clients that are like, I'm ready to go. But I feel like you had that extra, like, extra desire and push to be like, okay, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do this. What is it that just really, you know, kind of pushed you over to be like, I know I need to do exactly what she's saying?
I guess just my history of, you know, exhausting the nutrition approach, the supplement approach, and then really just tying in the emotional approach. You know, doing your emotional cleanse really enlightened me to how important it is to address those emotions that are trapped. And, you know, you can have the same effect with emotions that you have, that you're linking it to something else, and how emotions, you know, the liver, there's anger, like, and I was seeing it in my children. And I think that's what really tipped it over, that, you know, I want to be the change for them. And, you know, if I can make myself well, then that's going to encourage me and help me with them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and even on the emotion topic, so sometimes emotions are inherited. And so the interesting thing is, when we work on ourselves and we find inherited emotions that need to be released, anyone that is a part of that chain of the inheritance, whether it's passed down all the way to you, or it's someone else that, you know, like your child that you might pass it on, or maybe it's a sister that also has it or something like that. It's like it breaks the chain in everybody. So I can't explain the wonders of God to that extent in quantum physics, because they kind of intersect, but somehow it works, and I've seen miracles, you know. And on that topic, I feel like I mean, you just did one, and right away it was like you saw you had pain, right? You had pain on your chest and in your back, right?
Yeah.
And so we released 2 trapped emotions, and I couldn't believe you're already telling me that your pain was gone. Is it still gone?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so crazy. So that in itself shows that pain was from the emotion.
Right.
It wasn't from the parasite or whatnot. I mean, we can have pain from different types of infections. I mean, Lyme disease, parasites, these things can all, mold, like these things can all cause a lot of pain. But if somebody is not dealing with the root of the problem that is happening, then forget it. You're going to be spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So we have you on phase 1 of the protocol, right?
Yeah, phase 1.
Yeah. And what is it, like 3 weeks into it?
Say that again?
You're about 3 weeks into it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about that real quick. So how are you doing with that so far?
Great. The first week, I thought I was going to be ready. I passed a lot of, whether they be parasites or gallstones. I mean, it was interesting to see everything kind of come out, but, and I guess I've had experience, so I was kind of prepared for that. But I've noticed energy. I was having insomnia before. I'm able to just get in bed and fall asleep, where I would toss and turn. What else? Oh, my skin is like clear. I don't have rashes anymore. I noticed my fingernails are hard again, and they're not like, there's no white spots. I feel more calm versus so roller coaster in my emotions. My children, I mean, my husband's already recognizing that our children are so much better at dinner time, which sometimes that is like the challenging part, where it's the end of the day and dinner became stressful because, you know, the kids are doing what they're doing. It's the end of the day for me. I'm ready for dad to be home, and then he just gets home. So my kids I've seen a complete change in them. My daughter's like having longer naps. She just turned 3. So her naps are more I guess, consistent. Their just attentiveness and their overall demeanor is more calm, and my son can focus a lot better.
That's a lot. I mean, okay, so let's just put it this way for people that don't know yet. You've only been on this for 3 weeks, and your children like 2 weeks, or maybe even 1 week, because we kind of spaced it
probably
out.
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the kids have just been on this for 2 weeks, and their demeanor's already changing. They're more well behaved, right?
Yeah.
You're feeling more calm. They're feeling more calm. It's like a weight was just lifted off your family.
It is. It is. It feels. There's not even words to put into that. You know, and putting. You know, we use the essential oils. Those have always kind of been in my repertoire, but the blends. I mean, my son is saying that he loves the liver support. It is. He's going to be 5 in July. I mean, he's like, oh, is that liver? Oh, yeah. He's excited about the liver support.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Well, in kids, I mean, with muscle testing, we tap into our subconscious mind when we're doing that, right? Kids, it's like they're living more from that place. And so they almost more intuitively know what they need and don't need sometimes, unless they're, you know, really toxic, and that can just mess things up. But that's just funny that, I mean, he knows this is a good thing for him. So I love that. I love hearing that. So what else have you learned in the last couple of weeks?
What else have I learned? Road blockages in my own life. There's been some emotional breakthroughs, I guess, if you could call it emotional, but just, you know, feeling stuck, I guess, in my own personal growth, feeling more motivated to tackle the big decisions that I have been putting off, or, you know, I think about them, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to do it. And really starting to put the things into motion and actually act on the desires and the, you know, what's the word? The places I want to go, the things I want to achieve, the education that I want to get. That's really huge.
Yeah, this is huge that you're mentioning this. So, you know, the big thing that I talk about with when I'm working with people, or just in general, my why behind all of this, it's not just to get people healthy. Like, that's great. We all want to feel good, but the question really is, why do we want to feel good? Yeah. And, you know, when people are trying to figure out their health challenges, it can be really discouraging sometimes, and understanding your why is a really big deal. So for me, you know, my why for my clients, you know, obviously they have to have their own why, but I want them to be living life to the fullest. I want them to be able to follow their callings and passion in life. And if they have any type of illness or imbalance, then that can just block them from living their dream. Yeah, it's a real thing. You know, it's sad. Yeah. It's sad that feeling bad can do that, but it is what it is. You know, how can we produce and start a business and you know, keep up with the Joneses if we're if we're not feeling good, right? Right. Let alone study. Like you're in school again, right?
Yeah, I've been going to school, and that's kind of last semester around the holidays. I was having a hard time, like, because I do my school after the kids go to bed. So it was hard for me to actually, that was another thing. I had an extreme brain fog. I couldn't focus. It took me a long time to like read something and actually retain it. Where now I can sit down, do my assignment. In this last, you know, it was finals week when I started working with you. My finals went fantastic. So, yeah, I'm like, great, let's sign up for another one, where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. So it's been, I mean, it's only the tip of the iceberg, I believe. It's just, you know, it makes me a better person. It makes, you know, me a better role model for my children. And then it also empowers me to do the things that I was meant to do.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, in studying too, it's huge. You know, for many years, I didn't feel good too. And I peeled so many layers and worked on things from physical, mental, emotional, spiritual frequency, you name it, level. Yeah. And, you know, this year I just was like, you know, I really want to dive in the books and, you know, like a researcher. And so I'm reading every day. I spend a few hours researching, and I don't even think my brain could have had that capacity when I know it didn't. I was, you know, at some points in my life, I was so fatigued. It was just like, hard to get real like little things done in the day, let alone really dive in and immerse in researching, take extra courses and things like that. So, I mean, what you're saying is a real thing. And yes, you are just really barely getting the tip of the iceberg. So I'm surprised in phase one, the first week, you're already passing something, because it's only the beginning. We haven't even blasted the bugs yet.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, we're going to get there next week though. So hang on. You know, I know you're on the right path, and we'll probably have to do another one of these in the future. But for people that are just starting, I mean, this is encouraging, right? Those of you guys that are on Instagram, and let's see who's on Facebook, if anyone's replied here. Let's see, I don't see anyone yet, but let's see okay, all right, so we got some people tuning in here on Facebook too. So, I mean, it's very encouraging to see that how much your life can change in just a matter of weeks. And, you know, I know sometimes people get scared of taking the first step of doing this, because they're like, what is this going to involve? Is it going to be too much?
Right.
You know, obviously, there could be costs with this, but, you know, I do my best to kind of meet my clients where they're at. And, you know, if they can create a detox retreat in their house, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. If they need to piece things together, I'm like, okay, let's do that. You know, the point is just get started, right?
Right. I mean, I didn't want to be the chasing symptom. I've seen that in my family, and I didn't want that for myself. And I had friends, my friend just went through thyroid cancer. So that's not, and I just had this drive of like, that's not the road that I'm supposed to go on. There's got to be a better way. Like, I wasn't okay with just, well, that's just how it is. You're just going to have to take a hormone replacement. I'm like, I'm in my 30s. I don't think so. That's not, I wasn't okay with that. And I wanted I wanted to know why. I wanted to know, how did I get there? Can I get better? And what can I do to change that? So I not only can help myself, but my kids, and show them a better way to approach their health, you know?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So the thing that you're saying with symptoms, being a symptom chaser or chasing after deficiencies, it's such a common thing that we see when people are working with people's health, whether it's in the holistic world or it's in the medical world. It's always what's on the surface. And, you know, sometimes people will come to me and they're like, I need help with my hormones. And they're thinking like, do you do bioidenticals and things like that? I'm like, no, but I mean, I use glandulars to support them nutritionally, which are great for that. But, you know, really that's the tip of the iceberg. What's underneath and causing those issues with your hormones? So that's one thing. The candida, while that seems like it can be a root cause, it really is a byproduct of having toxicity, especially radioactive elements. So, you know, where you're from, I mean, this is a big challenge in general, radioactive elements all over around the world, but where you're from specifically, I've done a lot of tests there, and a lot of people have radioactive elements through the roof. The longer that they live there, I see it correlated. And, you know, the thyroid challenges that you're talking about, the fatigue, I mean, it's very related. You know, even the nails, you said your nails were getting better. Did you say anything about your hair at this point?
My hair, I've noticed. I mean, I can see every time I would go see my hairstylist, she's like, oh, your hair doesn't grow very much. I'm like, that's kind of weird. But I mean, I can see my hair growth now, and it feels so much better. It just feels better. It's long, it's growing. I can see my daughter's hair. It's not so thin anymore, and her hair is growing. My son's hair is like getting thicker, I can tell. And I've noticed their nails too. They used to be kind of flaky, and they're now like clear and hard, like nails should be. That's kind of what I've noticed. My daughter's toenails, I mean, she had like that thick yellow one toe like a couple years ago when she was 2. That nail is gone. I mean, that nail is clear. Their skin is clear. There's no like face rashes. Their lips. So
yeah. So in phase 1, which you guys are all on, a version of that at least, that's all about drainage and cellular energy. So the first step before we go in for the kill with parasites and then eventually get into toxins is we have to make sure that we're pooping right, that our liver's flowing. Those are the main 2 things in phase 1. and then we start to work up and work into the kidneys and lymph and other organs and tissues and cells. But the first part is really, let's get the bowels moving, let's get that liver flowing, and let's make sure we increase the cellular energy with so those mito ATP and the CT minerals. I know I put some nutritional therapy in there as well, which is why you're sleeping like a baby. So that's outside of the CellCore protocol, but that's all we're really doing right now. I mean, the main chunk of it, I should say. Obviously, we're using like layers of this with emotional wellness cleanse and some of the essential oils, but those are on top. Like, if we don't fix all this other, I mean, if we're not pooping, first of all, I mean, things are just not going to come out, right? And it just has this whole cascade of other stuff. So it's crazy that we've just opened up drainage pretty much, increased cellular energy, dealt with some emotions, and already you guys are having this massive improvement.
Yeah. And my daughter and my son, their regularity is getting better too. I mean, my daughter's back to twice a day. My son is back to twice a day. So that's another thing that has been noticeable and good. I mean, I don't know how detailed you want to get, but
well, as detailed as you're willing to get. I mean, I'm
it's not
book here.
Yeah, well, I think being a mom, I mean, I talked to a lot of my friends and their kids are constipated and it just comes out like pellets, and hers was okay, and then it started to go through like the little pellet stage, not pellets, but like it wasn't solid anymore. And now it's back to solid. So, and it's back to twice a day, not like once a day or every other day. So that's huge. I know that's a huge thing. So that shows me that things are moving along, which is, like you said, the drainage. So.
Right. Yeah. So last week when I went to that seminar for muscle testing, they had talked about they had said a specific thing that we can test for, which it's rocked my world ever since I learned that. And, when we're talking holistic, we're thinking that we have to make sure that we're completely balanced, right? I say mind, body, and spirit, but we forget kind of the structure part in that mind, body, spirit thing. So they grouped it into 3 things. So you got structure, chemical, and then you got emotional. So these 3 things you have to make sure that you deal with, right? And you can muscle test to figure out what percentage of each thing is causing issues. So if you're having, like, I've seen people already where they're 90% of their problem is emotional. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
It is. It's crazy. It says 10% is chemical. Now, I've seen this already. Even just doing this in the last week, I've already been seeing some very interesting things with this. So I'm like, okay, this person has 90% of their challenges are their health challenge is emotional. Well, what happens is it's like it creates this white noise around us, and it can cause us to not be able to heal as well. So I'm wondering too if I didn't do this test on you before, so I don't know, but because your family's responding so well to all of this, it really makes me wonder. I'm like, maybe like some of the extra frequency work that we're doing just kind of, took away a cloud that was preventing you all from going deeper too.
Yeah, no, I believe that, because even in mental block, spiritual block, it's a health block. Mm-hmm. So until you remove that, I mean, even with the kids and changing, I believe my frequency affects them as well. And, their emotions too. And I see it. My son isn't having so much, he's able to communicate and use his words, and we can communicate. I mean, they're still learning how to communicate their emotions, but there's not so much anger behind it for him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So before we go on real quick, I just want to say hi to everybody. Here's on Instagram, we got Jana, Chick Flores, hi. Sarah, Lee, sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Idaho Hati. Okay, let's see. Tip Blake, hello. Jan Rock, my husband Cerebral Swings is on. Let's see, Ron, thanks for joining us tonight. We still miss you in our Tuesday calls here. Gomez, and I miss you too, April. I've never seen you on there. Our Cerebral Detox group has a call every Tuesdays at 5:30, if you guys don't know. And oh, Elizabeth Dalkey, hi, how are you? So if you guys have any questions for April or myself, go ahead and put them in the chat, whether you're on Instagram or if you're on Facebook here, and we'll go ahead and answer them. Hi, Bonnie. Nice to see you too. So basically what we're saying, if you guys just tuned in, this is my client, April Coop, and she actually comes from a holistic background. She's a massage therapist and a Pilates teacher, and so she understands structure, obviously. And so she's been diving deep with her healing journey here, and in just 3 weeks on the protocol herself that I've written for her, and then 2 weeks for her children, I mean, they're seeing massive improvements already. Their bowels are moving better, their emotions are much more balanced, and there's even her skin feels better, her hair is growing more. I mean, there's just so many things in just a few weeks. It's crazy. She just was like, I'm gonna go in a deep dive, I'm gonna do all this stuff and just trust the process. And I just can't believe it. Even pains went away when we worked on the emotions. So I mean, what's going to happen next? I just can't even imagine after we start getting rid of the parasites. So now I want to shift gears here. So part of the reason why you came to me here is because I am faith-based in my practice as well. And I'm very upfront with that I believe in God and I believe in Jesus. Everyone is welcome to the table. I love everyone. There's nothing against if someone believes elsewise. But I'm just curious, like, how do you feel like all this is affecting your relationship with God?
Oh, it's got me closer. I'm I'm spending most of my day in prayer. I'm praying more over my kids. It opened up a new friendship. That's a girlfriend of mine that we lost touch when we went to a faith-based private school, and now we're back in touch. We're actually kind of having the same journey, which is interesting, working with two different practitioners, but it's faith-based. But there isn't a conversation that happens anymore that God isn't mentioned in my conversations.
Well, I didn't know that, so I'm glad that we brought this part up. Yeah, it's interesting. In the Bible, it says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, happiness. I don't know the whole thing, but all those good vibes, right? And when we take things like hemp oil and we balance our chemistry and our frequencies and we release trapped emotions, how much easier is it just to radiate in that love, joy, peace, happiness, and the rest of it, all the good stuff. It's not hard. It's not a struggle, right? So obviously there could be more layers to dig through, but I just want to encourage people that are on this call right now that sometimes I think that we put ourselves down a little bit too much and think, why can't I just be like this? Why am I not happy? Like, I'm reading my Bible and I'm doing all these things to make myself happy. And I do talk therapy or whatever. I mean, talk therapy can be great too, don't get me wrong, but there could be other things that are causing the imbalances in people's emotions and hearing intuitively from God as well. So anyways, it's nice to hear that even, again, within a few weeks, that's also, you feel like your relationship with God is heightened as well.
Yeah. Because ultimately, I believe he's the ultimate healer. If we're not going and involving him, we're going to not get anywhere.
Yeah. And, I want to tie that in here too, because now that I'm doing muscle testing, people are like, okay, it's already kind of strange for some people if you go to a clinic and do it live and they're pumping your arm and you're like, what is all this? And then when you do it remotely, now you're like, okay, well, what really is going on with all this? Because you're not even touching me at this point. And I want to bring up muscle testing because it is something that is so powerful. And for people that don't understand it, we were having some questions in the group last night about, well, like, what is this? Like, is this okay? Like when people are really want to, stay in line with the word, we don't want to do anything that can throw us off and bring us in weird spiritual lands, right? So I will be the first person to dig through that for you, trust me, and connect these two worlds. And, I definitely don't want my clients fall off track, but we need to invite these type of things in, these type of testing in, because it's so incredible how specific that you can get with the problems that people have. Like I was saying earlier, you can figure out the percentage of whether your health problem is structural, chemical, or emotional, and then you can tack it properly. You can figure out what type of parasite here. I have to show this new muscle testing kit. I am so excited. So, all right. So for you guys here first, I'll show you. So like this thing here, you can see like Lyme and all these crazy things, mold, viruses. All these yellow ones are parasites, like different types of parasites. So here you go, Instagram. So this is what we could test for specifically. Basically, infections and toxins are what you got to know if you're going to if you have a really big, if you have a chemical problem that's causing your health challenge to be off, which, I mean, let's face it, we all do because we're living in a toxic world. We need to know this. And I have certain tests I do with labs, like I've given April labs, but it's always good to cross-reference your testing. If you just get stuck in one thing, you could be missing the boat on other things. So I go to this conference and they're testing things on me and they're like, oh, you have certain things in your brain. Oh, you got certain things in your heart. Or and so that could be powerful when you're writing up a protocol for someone. You can figure out, like, why does someone go blind? I mean, if you ask the right question, the quality of your questions is the quality of your answers, especially when you're doing muscle testing. So when we're talking about the trapped emotions, that's what I'm doing. I'm finding the trapped emotions through muscle testing. And what we're doing is it's kind of like a prayer, where a prayer that manifests physically. When your body responds, you're kind of beeping here. Your body responds to truth, but it also responds to a lie, and it responds to anything bad or good. Our body's like an inborn lie detector. So there's all kinds of different ways that people can muscle test. And it's basically like we have this whole quantum field. So I'm going to take everyone's level of understanding to this to another level. Oh, you're beeping again. Are you sure you have your volume down?
Yes.
Let me see. Sorry, I swear we'll continue with this muscle testing.
Maybe.
Maybe it's me. I don't know. Okay, so think about when you pray for someone and like somewhere around the world they can feel your prayer. There's a reason. And so I think it's interesting, sometimes people want to like separate a certain type of therapy and God. They're like, well, isn't it God that heals? I'm like, yes, it's God that heals. God can also show you what the answer of your problem is too.
Right.
And so, before we even do something like this, I pray and I ask God to guide me. And then we're looking for a physical response. There's different ways to muscle test. When I'm doing this remotely, I just use a pendulum. And I go through this whole chart and figure out what's causing the issue. So anyways, as you go through coaching, we can implement this and dive deeper and get more specific and dial in the actual dose that your body is ready for right now. Not everybody could just attack the whole picture at once. It's never really that. Like as we talked about with April, we haven't even hit the parasites, although you're already moving them just by opening your drainage.
Yeah.
So
fine, they can get out.
Right. Let's see what happens once we get to phase 2. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that real quick. When we're muscle testing, whether it's an emotion or whether it's a physical thing, it goes back to the whole idea of quantum entanglement, and we're all kind of connected in this weird situation that like we can't even see it. And when we muscle test, we're basically tapping into other people's quantum field, which we're already connected to. We're just becoming more aware of the intention of it. So anyways, we'll talk more about all that as time goes on. So anyways, April, let's see if anyone has any questions on here for you or for me. Do you have anything else you wanted to say before we see what they are?
No, I'm just excited about like what's going to happen next. I just was having this conversation with my friend, and I feel like because she's taken her kids to do the same thing. And I'm like, I feel like we're doing so good by them, because I was going to the pediatrician and they're just like weighing them and asking if they can say dada and not really ever getting to the root of anything else that's going on. I'm like, I don't want to wait till there's an issue. Mm-hmm. Why can't we? So I'm very blessed that I found you and that we're working together.
Yeah. And you know what? One more note on the root. So obviously, deficiencies are one thing that throws the body off. Hello to some more you guys that just came on here. So deficiencies, you know, if we don't have enough of the right thing that we need for our body, and if we have too much of a bad thing, so toxins and infections. This is a chemical balancing 101 for you guys. So this is what throws us off of homeostasis, and then we got to go like this. So if we really deal with the infections, the deficiencies are naturally going to take care of themselves a lot better. So instead of taking like a million capsules of vitamin C every day, you might only need like, you know, a few.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't even need it at all.
Vitamin B12, and it still wasn't making a difference a year later. I was taking all the supplements,
right,
therapeutic doses. It wasn't making a difference.
So this is interesting. So once I learned all that these new muscle testing techniques last week, I mean, I've been diving in the rabbit hole with that and testing everything. And I mean, you could get super, super specific, right? So one of the things that I was testing is I was like, all right, well, if this person needs X amount of vitamin C, let's just say they need 10 capsules a day. And I'm like, okay, well, if they get rid of the parasite in them, how many capsules a day do they need after that? I mean, isn't that an interesting thing to figure out?
Yeah.
So one person I was doing this for, and it seemed like if we got rid of the infections that I had highlighted at that moment, then they would only need 2/3 of the amount of the nutritional supplements that I was giving them. I'm trying to save you guys money here.
Yeah.
I mean, and not spinning your wheels. Like, yeah, it costs some money up front, but if you just get rid of the thing that's eating your food,
the parasite's not going to be eating them.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. And then the other thing is so you got infections that will feed off of your food, right? But then you have infections that displace your nutrients. So if someone smokes, for example, they might have cadmium toxicity. That's a toxin in cigarettes. And then it could displace their zinc. So now that they can, you know, you have high cadmium, it lowers your zinc. Now you have a virus probably because you don't have enough zinc. So it's like there's like I mean, one thing leads to the next, and it's like, oh, you got all these toxins, then you got deficiencies, then you got infections, and so, you know, the key is always like to design a protocol that's really step by step and systematic, but making sure you're not just stopping here at the infection part. What about the whole thing that started that thing? So we got to get to the toxicity as well. And candida, like what you were saying, if you're just going to hit the candida, but you're not dealing with the toxicity that's causing it, or the emotional balance acting can be making you resonate at the wrong frequencies that can be causing it, then this is why people are not getting answers for their health, because
it doesn't have the proper channels of getting out of your body. Hello.
Yes, phase 1.
There's
or
a reason
if you're not pooping, or if your liver is not flowing. I mean, so many people have liver issues. You know, the other interesting too is that emotional wellness cleanse that you did. I have seen so many people, so much emotions concentrated in the liver. So much, like liver and gallbladder, they tend to share kind of similar emotions of liver's a little bit more of anger, and gallbladder is a little bit more of resentment, but they're pretty similar. And I just can't believe how many people have so many emotions there. But when we're living in a toxic world and our liver is so sludgy, it's like full of parasites because of all that, how do we expect to not be angry and not have resentment toward people? So it's amazing. If you want to figure out how to forgive people better and let things go better, clean out your liver.
The liver has a lot of jobs. I mean, it's like it needs help. It has to do a lot, and especially the toxic world we live in, we cannot not help it. I mean, it can't do it on its own. There's so much that it's not the same world anymore. So I know I have friends that are like, am I always gonna have to detox? I'm like, I mean, I think twice a year is probably a good idea. I mean, it's in your food. We just don't have, it's all around us. Not to like, we're going to live in fear, but I think it's important to have a cleanse or have a detox or have some type of help for your body.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, it's like, if you're carrying like this much of your toxic burden, whether it's emotions or physical or structure, and you get it down closer to homeostasis, the world outside of us you might start going, you might start getting some, but it's not as big of a dump. Like in the beginning, most people need to take a huge dump on all these different toxins and infections that they're dealing with. But if you just have a maintenance program after that, then you're not going to have to take such a deep dive in the future. So, and then as long as you're not re-intoxicating yourself, obviously, aside from what we're naturally exposed to. I mean, if you do a deep dive and then you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to still eat McDonald's every day. Well, then there's a reason why you get parasites and toxicity back in your life. So, or if you don't change your water, if you're drinking toxic water, you're just getting toxins in every day. So let's go ahead and see if there's any comments here. Let's see a hi. All right. Oh, Deanna, hello. Deanna's a rep at CellCore. Deanna, you might want to listen to this. She's been having fabulous results on the CellCore protocol. It might encourage some of your practitioners too to hear her story. And we just did phase 1. We did phase 1, and she's draining already and passing some interesting things in the first week. And like her whole family changed. So I'm not going to go through all that. Just listen to the beginning. But Jana says, so detox is a forever lifestyle. Yes. As you know, it could take a lot to go through it in the beginning, because it just depends on where someone is at in their toxic flow, right? So
when you're ready, it appears.
Right. Yeah. It's just that once it goes back to that whole thing. If you have this much to get rid of and you go down to 0, well, it's not like it's more of a maintenance program. It's not like you have to take 20 para 1 a day to, get rid of this tapeworm that you have. That's not a forever thing. It's more of like, okay, let's just take some binders so that we keep getting the toxins out that we're re-exposed to. And then maybe once or twice a year, we should do a parasite cleanse. And, if you have a practitioner that you're working with, then every so now and then it's not a bad idea to test so that you could just make sure that you're keeping everything out. So we want to get it out and we want to keep it out. And then, and if you don't let things, go crazy without checking up periodically, then it's not going to be a big problem, a big buildup like usually it is in the beginning.
I think it's like keeping the environment the way it should be without the parasites. I think, for me, my experience where I was at, it just progressively, it could have been emotions and trauma in my childhood that were never addressed. And so, if I got food poisoning and never dealt with it properly, or I ate something and continued on this lifestyle and, had my 20s, had my experiences, I wasn't always gentle and nice and kind to my body. I'm gonna have some things that I need to get rid of. So I think trauma and emotions just feeds the fire that's already in as well. So like you said.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, on Facebook. So Virginia Edwards says hi. What's her Bitmoji? So cute. Let's see if there's anything else over here. All right, I don't see any other questions. So, all right, well, April, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm sure that this has encouraged people and people that are going to watch it later too. And we're going to get this on YouTube as well. So are there any other last minute words or things that you want to say to encourage people that are listening?
No, I'm grateful that I finally have found, God showed me a practitioner, somebody that can help me deal with it all without having to have separate conversations and being able to talk about it all at the same time, because it all exists together. And the world needs more of this. And I'm just grateful that, our paths cross. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, it's like, you just like a practitioner just has to know when they don't know something or they're not willing to explore having that as a part of their practice and refer out. That was one of the key things that they were talking about this weekend too. And I'm like, well, they said it perfectly. That's exactly what it is. Like for me, I'm not a dentist, but is that going to affect people's health if they have bad dental issues? Yes. If they have a cavitation or they have like a wisdom tooth that, it could be like a cavitation. If they got a wisdom tooth removed and then it didn't heal properly, that could be causing someone's health issue to not be able to break through. So stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I'm never going to do that. I know that. And I'm going to send people away for that. Chiropractic, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to send people away for that. But there's so much I think that a regular health practitioner that does this type of work with functional medicine can tie in. I mean, we can tie in the muscle testing, we can tie in frequency work. I'm even learning tuning forks. Are you going to join me in that class? Me and April talked about doing tuning fork classes together.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of doing that still?
Oh, I don't. Well, I saw it's like the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday. I don't have a babysitter for the Friday, so that would be kind of hard to find it. So I've been trying to find if they do an in-person one, but I want to.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother thing. I got exciting stuff to add to this whole thing too. Emotional wellness cleanse on steroids.
Yeah.
We're gonna get sound therapy going on. We're gonna get trapped emotions with muscle testing, release of magnets and essential oils and flower remedies. Veronica Leslie, my friend, she's a house doll. She said it perfectly the other day. She's like, I like to stack my frequency therapy. I'm like, that's exactly what this is. It's a stack of frequency therapies. And, you know, if we balance our frequencies, our emotions are just happier. And obviously we have to get rid of the bugs that can be causing it to go crazy, but that's so key. So anyways, all right, April, well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching too and listening to April's story. And I hope that you were encouraged today, and maybe you have a family member too that might need to hear this, so you can pass it along too. You know, it starts with stories. Like if people don't understand that they can even heal, then why would they even embark on this journey? You know, it can take time, it can take money, it can, you know, it's a commitment to be healthy, but it's a good commitment because once you change your health, I mean, your whole life, everything changes. Your money, your finances, relationships, how you feel, how happy you are. I mean, you see it already, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can always choose your old life and go back, but I don't think it'll happen that way. I just want more.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Anyways, all right, you guys. Well, have a good night. Be blessed. And thank you so much, April, for coming on. And I'll see you next week. And I'll see you guys next week on Instagram Live. I say 5:30, but it generally tends to be around 5:45-ish. So somewhere around that time we'll start. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.